Hi, Andrew Cuneo here with something different today. It's going to be a Arena Cube draft. I'm sitting in the traditional Arena Cube draft queue right now. I'm a big fan of playing best of 3 over best of 1, especially in limited, not so much because I really think sideboarding matters that much. It's more because I like the experience of the first game not really knowing anything about my opponent's deck, and then the second and possible third game you learn more about the deck you're going to play against, and you have to adapt your play based on that new information. I think that's honestly the best part of playing best of 3. Well, that and maybe getting rid of the hand smoother, which I think just makes Magic less fun. Sideboarding is really not a very important consideration, I would say. Not that it doesn't matter, but it matters a lot less than the going from knowing nothing about your opponent's deck to knowing a substantial amount of it, possibly by game 3. It's taking a while for the queue to fire. I am ready. So what have we got? So far, my experience with this iteration of this cube is that the mid-range decks are substantially worse than they used to be. There's a lot of cards that kind of go over the top of them now. And so I think you either want to be aggressive or you want to be some sort of late game deck with, really good finishing cards. So if I wanted to be an aggressive deck, Rekindling Phoenix is not the most aggressive card in the world, but it is a good kind of top-end card for an aggressive deck for sure. There's also Mind Flayer, which I haven't loved. People tend to play a lot of creature removal, so it does die a lot. There's Gonti, which is, again, not great. I think I'm just going to go with Rekindling Phoenix. Ideally, when you start a draft like this, you wind up just mono red with, nothing but great mono red cards. Realistically, that's probably not going to happen. So there's a variety of, like, red-white can wind up good. Red-green can wind up good some of the times. Red-black, even red-blue, but red-blue is not really an aggressive deck in this cube. It's more just a shell for some of the big mana cards like Magma Opus, the Scholar of the Lost Trove. Honestly, Scholar of the Lost Trove is just the best card in this pack by a substantial amount, I would say. So maybe I should pick that. I could put Rekindling Phoenix in a red-blue deck. It wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. That stands out to me. Maybe Paradise Druid. Paradise Druid is a pretty good card in a, somewhat aggressive red-green deck. You know what? I feel like doing that. We'll leave the blue cards for somebody else this time. I think the best card in this pack is Rankle, maybe Lurrus. Rankle's extremely good. If I want to just go with a green card, I really wish that I could just see the real art of Gemrazor. Gemrazor's a pretty strong card. Goes with my Paradise Druid and potentially with the Rekindling Phoenix. Let's try that. I'm kind of feeling like a red-green deck. All right. Here, I'm going to get to take one of the best cards in this pack. I think Lair of the Hydra is excellent. I think Lava Coil is excellent. And honestly, this Rada Heart of Keld it's a pretty good card. Probably not going to pick it here. I think I'm going to go with the Lair of the Hydra. This is a pick that's mostly just about the fact that you almost always wind up with enough cards in your deck. So having good non-basic lands is pretty important in this cube. Certainly if I'm going to be a 2-color deck, I would hope to have very good non-basic lands. What do we got here? Hornet Queen, but I'm not really looking to ramp that big, especially if I'm actually playing red-green. I haven't picked a red card in a while, so maybe I'm not really red-green. But Hornet Queen, it's really good if you get to cast it, but if you're not doing something to disrupt your opponent, you're going to lose to the other big mana decks if you're just a red-green deck that's going to tap out to cast a Hornet Queen. I think I'm going to take the Ox. Wow, Torbran is still here. I don't think I can realistically play Torbran in a red-green deck. And frankly, it's not that good unless you're really heavy red. Even if you can cast it, it only helps your red sources of damage, and right now I don't have that many. I think I'm just going to take another ramp creature. I would definitely like to get some more aggressive cards. No, I'll be disappointed if I get to the end of this cube and I don't have any 1-drops in my deck. I think my card quality is reasonably high, though. All right, here we go. Not a 1-drop, but an excellent aggressive creature. Primal Might also would be a great card to pick up, but I'm going to go with the Stormseeker here. This card is just great. It effectively gives all of your other creatures haste, while also hitting very hard, and if it ever winds up being Night, it's just exceptional. All right. So this, I think, is an important pick. Siege-Gang Commander is a good card, but it's one of those cards that just never performs particularly well in Cube because it's alongside so many other good 4, 5, and 6 mana cards that it doesn't really stand out as a particularly good 5 mana card. I think that I need to pick a 2 mana card here for sure. I think I'm just going to go with Thundering Rebuke to have a little bit of interaction. Battlecry Goblin is obviously fine. Honestly, it would be really good in a deck with the Siege-Gang Commander, which can't happen because they're both in the same pack. All right, this pack is the pack that I got the Phoenix out of. I don't think it really offers anything for me here. I guess I'll take this Dryad. I think I'm very unlikely to play it. My deck would have to go in a very different direction to want the Dryad. Insult Injury can be really good. This is looking like a deck where I'm going to have a lot of mana in my deck for being a somewhat aggressive deck, which is the kind of deck you'd want Insult Injury in. I'll take the Harvester as a sideboard card in case I get paired up against another aggressive deck. It really shines in that spot. I'm really disappointed that the Rada didn't wheel. Explorer's a great card, but I think it's a great card in a different style of deck. All right, this could easily be a main deck card. Might only be a sideboard card. Depends on how much other artifact and enchantment removal I get. Well, wheeling the Torbran says to me that nobody wants to be mono red, so maybe I should be mono red. Because I could definitely play Torbran and the Shield Breaker, which that gives me 7 red cards, plus I could play the Aethersphere Harvester if I really need cards. So I could still wind up mono red. It's going to depend on how this next pack goes. If I get like Anax and Embercleave, that'd be a real reason to be mono red. Honestly, this is a pretty good card. I could definitely see playing that. Okay. Nothing particularly exciting for a mono red deck. I think it's pretty hard. There's not a lot of payoffs for trying to enable Delirium in your deck. It's usually you're going to have one or two cards. So this Unholy Heat, you're not going to go out of your way to turn it on, certainly. I kind of want to take the Saw Tusk Demolisher. Kogla is also a consideration, but I think the Demolisher is the way to go. I've been kind of impressed by this card. Also, I have another Mutate card, which Mutate cards kind of stack on top of each other pretty well. Yeah, let's go for this. This thing is one of the better mono red cards. That's a consideration. The Jaspera Sentinel is a consideration. I don't think the Sentinel's going to tap for mana very efficiently with my deck, though. I've got a lot of good 4 and 5 mana things, and both of my cheap creatures already tap for mana. This is kind of a disappointing pick, to be honest. I'll take the Phoenix of Ash. It's a good card, but it's kind of in the same space as most of my other good cards, which is it's like a 3 or 4 mana creature. Here I could get a good 2-drop. It's not a great 2-drop, it's just playable. I think I'm just going to take Play with Fire. It's a reasonably efficient card. Am I going to have enough instants and sorceries to get to Lava Run or something I'm happy with in my deck? I think the answer to that's pretty clearly no. This is not a Demonic Pact draft. I frequently draft and prioritize Demonic Pact, but I'm going to try to draft a non-Demonic Pact deck. Let's just take a dual land. I think at this point, I've kind of given up on mono red. I took too many cards that were not just mono red. So what are my choices? Gilded Goose would be okay, for sure. There's also Settle the Wilds, which I think is a pretty powerful card. I've already got a 6-drop. I've got some 5-drops. Let's try this. I've had it in decks where like I had Hullbreaker Horror, and just being able to tutor your Hullbreaker Horror while ramping was completely ridiculous. I think this card is just exceptionally good. I'm going to take it even though it's a little bit off theme for what my deck's trying to do. Earthshaker Kenra and Royal Eruption and even the Lavamancer would be great, but I think this card is just really exceptionally good. I don't really want another 5-drop, so let's just take Shatterskull Smashing for more non-basic lands. This pack contains no cards that are anywhere near what I'm doing. Maybe there's some world where I wind up with a black card I really want to play. I can't imagine what that would be. I like some of what this deck has going on. So the Kogla Wield. It's also Devil's Play. I kind of feel like I don't really want another expensive creature. Let's just take Devil's Play. So I already have one green-black land. I guess I'll just take another green-black land to further support this idea that maybe I'll find a black card I want to play. At this point, I've got 3 lands over here, so I think I'm looking pretty clearly to play 17 lands, counting Shatterskull Smashing as a land. Which of these X spells do I like better? I think it's Purphoros' Intervention. I don't know if that's going to make my deck, but it's a pretty good card. So I'm looking to add 14 lands to my deck at this point, meaning that I would need 8 more spells, which with one more pack to go, that's That should definitely happen. It's a really nice pickup. I need more one and two mana plays. This is an excellent one. It's not completely clear that the Dollhouse of Horrors is a good card in this deck. Ooh. That would be a nice card to splash. If all my green-black lands had been green-white or red-white, this would definitely be in my deck. Wow, this pack is terrible for me. Don't think Scoot Swarm is a playable card for me. I mean, it's playable, obviously, but I just don't think that my deck is good enough at making repeated landfall triggers in one turn to actually take advantage of it very much. So I could take Lightning Axe. I could take Thoughtseize if I somehow wanted to splash Thoughtseize. It seems kind of crazy, but really, what am I going to take? I could take Field of Ruin. I could put it in my deck, but it doesn't seem like a good card. I'm going to take Thoughtseize. Maybe I'll play against some deck where I really feel like I need to board it. I think Embercleave is just completely outrageously good in this cube, so I'm going to take that 100%. I'll probably wheel something decent out of this pack, like Dragon's Rage Channeler, the Chariot, the green-red land, one of these red burn spells. That's a really good pack for me. I wish some of those cards had been in the previous pack. This seems like a very clear Glorybringer. It's a very good card in this cube. There's a dual land again. Hopefully I wheel one or two of these dual lands. My mana is not great right now. I don't really like any of these cards for my deck. Maybe the Magma Channeler. If I get to the end of the draft and I feel like I really need another 2-drop. Bala Ged Recovery is really good, but I think it's better in more controlling decks where the game's going to slow down and you can afford to spend 3 mana on that effect. So we've got a Braid and I've got a dual land. I already have a bunch of cards that can destroy artifacts. Braid would be good, but I think that I'm going to get enough spells, so I just want to make sure I have decent mana. I don't think this is a very good 1-drop for this deck. Demon Bolt is certainly a card I could play. I don't know if I'm going to. I've got a lot of options for removal spells. Am I playing with enough spells that this thing could be good? I think I actually am. It's only instants and sorceries, but I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, kind of 6. Yeah, I think I've got enough. So Settle can tutor at 6 mana for the Demolisher or the Embercleave. Might have been nice to get some sort of 7-drop. I don't know what kind of 7-drop there is in the cube that I might actually play. This card is sometimes really good in these decks. I think this is not one of those decks, though. Like, I didn't wind up with any Planeswalkers. I didn't wind up with any random legends. I'm just going to go with this card. This pack has not gotten any better. So I'm probably going to have to play 1 or 2 of these cards I've got in my sideboard because I need to get 3 more spells. I'm not going to be great at turning this on, but it's not going to be impossible either. Ooh, do I want the Ferocidon or do I want to light up the stage? I think I want to light up the stage. None of these cards are usable. creatures did I wind up with? 13. I don't really have any fake creatures either. Like, I don't have any planeswalkers that turn into creatures or vehicles that turn into creatures. So I should probably be looking to add a creature at a minimum. So Arena has topped me off to 17 lands, but Arena is not counting my Shatterskull Smashing. So I would actually like to play one fewer land and one more spell. But before I get to that, I got to fix this. This is an emergency. All right. Imagine if they could design software where you didn't have to do that every draft. It would be just unbelievable. So I'm either adding a cheap creature or a removal spell. So what are the options? The Shield Breaker, which this can already destroy an artifact. This can destroy an artifact too. It's not that much stuff that can blow up artifacts. That has some appeal. I don't think I have enough stuff for the Lava Runner to be good. The Channeler is like, it's okay. I can do a little bit of stuff if I fuel my graveyard. I've got the Phoenix and the Ox, which both escape. I've got Dollhouse, which takes stuff out of my graveyard. I've got Devil's Play, which I could discard and flash back, and same thing with Insult Injury. I've also got this thing, which cares about Delirium. Yeah, I think that's enough that the Channeler is respectable. I also have the Kenra, which I can play from my graveyard. All right. Not the most exciting deck in the world, but it's pretty strong, I think. And I got to bear. So what do I have to bear in mind while I'm playing? I need to remember that Settle the Wild stops at 6 mana. At 6 lands, so I shouldn't put my 6th land into play unless it's for a purpose. And I have one card that cares about Delirium. So I'll want to remember that when I'm exiling cards from my graveyard. I've got this thing that cares about Coven, which that probably doesn't really influence plays very much. I've only got one werewolf that cares about the day-night cycle. So that's not something I'm going to generally care about. Because once this guy will start the day-night cycle, but once he's gone, that's it. All right. Would very much like to be on the play with my deck. I'm going to try to scry into a 2-drop here. Certainly not a land. Obviously, I'm going to want to make my 4th land drop, but I'm going to get 3 more draws plus the Augur. Potentially find that land. Is it worth paying 3 life not use a draw on the Shatter Skull Smashing. Also, I don't get to cast it. I think it probably is not, just given that it appears my opponent's playing a very aggressive deck. And my hand, I think, is really well suited for winning in this matchup. I don't think there's a need to trade life total for cards, really. This is not a good card in their deck. Unless they're getting a third color. Yeah, they'd be better off just playing a land. I am going to kill the Ferocidon here because it's their largest creature, even though the 1 point of damage each person's taking kind of favors me at that point. Alright, so I want a board to be better, I guess, against an aggressive-ish deck. I think I'm going to cut the Dollhouse for Aethersphere Harvester. I didn't see any creatures that I really felt like I absolutely had to be able to kill, so I don't think I'm going to board in more of this kind of stuff. Maybe Insult Injury is a little bit expensive in the matchup, and I should just have Perforos's Intervention instead. Let's try that. I didn't really learn very much about their deck in that one game. Look at all these great spells I have, but I think I have to mulligan. Much better hand. I think I'm putting Embercleave on the bottom for now. I'll tutor it up with Settle the Wilds eventually. Or at least I'll tell myself that. This is such a good land in this cube. Do I even want to kill that? I guess. So we got one instant slash sorcery in my graveyard, and this would be a second. Pretty far away from this thing getting big. Getting closer now. I think this is the first time I've seen this card in play with this cube. Ah. It's kind of a problem. Just going to cast this as a normal card. Want more creatures in play, not one giant trampling one. This is on red, right? So they can do 2 sacrifices of the Siege Gang Commander. Well, that's a good card. This does have reach, so at least I have that going for me. Red land would be fine here. Alright, that wasn't the worst. If they have Embercleave, it's not going to be good. Outside of that, I think I'm in okay shape, though. So I'm going to take... Right now I'm taking 11. Never mind, I'm dead. Assume I'm dead. I'm pretty dead. I don't think there was a way I was going to beat them having Embercleave there. Alright, now that I know they have Embercleave, does that change anything? I could play Lightning Axe over Perforos' Intervention, just have an instant speed thing. I guess I'm going to do that. Really, the best way for me to beat Embercleave is to just Embercleave them before they Embercleave me. And I'm going to get to be on the play this game, and I have Embercleave, so that plan is starting to come together. Pace for a turn 4. Casting of Embercleave, not on a giant creature, but still potentially going to be good. And I definitely want to just get cards out of my hand, because the Ox in my deck is mostly a card I'm going to plan to cast for 5 mana. Just a 5 mana 4/2 that draws 3 cards, which is a pretty respectable card. Well, that is not a fast start to the game for them. So now, if I play Embercleave this turn, and then I draw a green land and I settle, I'll be getting the Sawtusk Demolisher. Wow, why did they do that? I'm up against Toast Your Ravioli. I've never really had much luck toasting raviolis. This is a nice hand. Against another aggressive deck. Hopefully they can't kill the Paradise Druid, but if they kill the Paradise Druid and I don't draw a land, I can just play the Channeler, give it haste, and then try to find a land that way. If they kill the Paradise Druid and the Stormseeker, that would be real bad for me. Is this a good turn to light up the stage? It's not a great turn, but it's an okay turn. Hopefully I hit a land off of it. If I don't hit a land, I'm going to have to pay 3 life to put the smashing into play. Alright, that was kind of a perfect light up the stage for my situation. That worked out really badly for my opponent. They chose to wait. I'm a coward. Realistically, I'm not a coward. I want to have a creature in play so I can just mutate the Sawtusk Demolisher onto the Channeler this turn. Oh wait, it's a human. That doesn't work. Ugh. I already played a land. Yuck. I forgot about that part of mutate. This turn could have been a lot better for me. It's not going to be that bad because I still got the Soulscar Mage off the board and I'm going to get to crack the clue. But I think I would have preferred to just take the land off of the Channeler and injury the Soulscar Mage. Well, that's a good card. Shatterskull Smashing is a pretty good answer to it, though. And my thing's a 4/4 now. That's nice. Past the point in the game where this is actually a good card. I know I could play it next turn to tutor up my Embercleave, but I don't really want to do that with my turn next turn. I want to just play my 6/6 Trampler. Yikes. That's a lot of damage. So I'm down to 5 and they still have a flying creature? I don't like that. Can't beat much here. Can maybe beat that. Guess that's a good card to draw. I'm going to try to set up a situation where I kill them next turn. Dead to a lightning bolt type card. Can I just burn them? This puts them to 5 and then puts them to 1, so not quite. I left the land on top because I can just channel away the Ox to get the land to actually just burn them with Devil's Play, but I decided I'd rather not show that to them. So they're like a more aggressive tokens deck. So I again want to board in the Aethersphere Harvester for this matchup. Maybe I want a little bit more removal. Insult Injury again seems kind of pricey for what it does. It's possible I misbuilt my deck having Insult Injury in it to begin with. It's such a good card at winning if you're ever in like a kind of a stalled mid-range situation, but maybe that doesn't happen enough in this cube. Sand is potentially on the slow side, but it is very powerful. And I've got a Scry land, which gives me 3 shots at hitting a 2-drop, which is really what my hand's missing. It's a 4-mana play. Not even a particularly good one. I think I can do better than that. Well, I know I can do better than that. But I think I'd rather try to do better than that. There we go, 2-drop. Which is going to be a sad Kenra that it's going to stay on defense. Guess I'm going to play a sad Phoenix of Ash too. Don't really see a reason to trade damage against what appears to be a slightly more aggressive deck than me that also has had to mulligan and hasn't really had a great start to the game. Ooh, I like this card. Just a neat card. It's a dragon too, so it's actually, wow, that's terrible for me. It means that my Glorybringer can't exert to kill it. I think I should have attacked in that spot. Okay. To exert to get the outcast off the board. I maybe took trading off a little bit too far here. Because I am now trying to beat the Immortal Sun. It's fine as long as they don't give that thing haste. Not sure this attack makes any sense at all. Oh, that thing can't block. Okay, that makes a little bit more sense. Should I chump this turn? Probably not. I would be doing a lot better if I just tried to race this game. Yeah. So played the Immortal Sun, and I guess Icing Death does produce an artifact. Even if it's not the most exciting artifact in the world to kill. That's probably enough that I'll just play the Shield Breaker over the Channeler. I pretty much lost that last game because I didn't make. There were a couple of chances to attack with the Phoenix of Ash early on in the game, and I didn't take them. So I never got their opponent. Never got their life total low enough that it was actually reasonable to try to race them. The green land would be an excellent draw next turn. That was not an excellent draw. Ugh. I think I need to play this as a blocker. Okay, land on top of my deck one time. No. What a sad game. Ugh. Alright, I'm defeated. My draw phases have not been cooperating with me very much. Forest would be great. Settle. Trigger this thing. Hopefully hit a mountain. Do dreams come true? Do I get the mountain? No, I didn't get the mountain, but that wasn't bad. Turns like that are why I think Settle is just very underrated. A ramp spell that gets you one of the better cards in your deck, which, you know, getting a 4 or a 5 mana card is pretty amazing. Should I bluff attack? I think this is an okay spot to bluff. Yeah. It's so hard for them to block there. If I have any instant, they're just putting their card in the bin for no reason. I might be able to kill them next turn with Insult Injury, depending on what they do with their turn. This thing, if you get to cast both modes in the same turn, you deal a lot of damage. Targnar, okay. Targnar would be a fine card in my deck. I don't know about in a deck with Spectral Sailor. Yeah, let's just go for it. So now I'm dealing 4 damage to Rada, 4 damage to them, and I'm doubling the amount of damage all of these things are going to do. So they can live, but they're forced to chump the Dragon's Guard Elite, and they're taking 8 from this. So they've decided to move on. All right, for once, I'm just not going to sideboard. I didn't really see anything too scary out of that deck. I'd like to get to use Dollhouse of Horrors, maybe. This hand is not ideal. Should I mulligan? I'm going to keep. This is the kind of hand I tend to keep, which maybe is a mistake. It can work out really well, though. If I draw a forest in my top 3 cards, so I get the Augur of Autumn into play, then, you know, potentially this hand turns out to be great. That's not the forest I was hoping for. Not the forest I was hoping for, but at a minimum, I'm going to get to cast my Devil's Play and then maybe make a play on turn 4. I draw land. Wait a second, didn't this deck have... This was a red-green deck last game. They went from having Spectral Sailor and Targnar in their deck to having Clarion Spirit. It's like they switched decks with my second round opponent in sideboarding. Pretty weird. I really want to mutate onto something and destroy this clue, so I just get a 3/3 beast out of it. I guess I'm just going to kill the Clarion Spirit. Certainly don't want to play the Ox of Agonas. I could have played the Dollhouse of Horrors that turn, I guess. 5 mana for a permanent that doesn't do anything the turn it comes into play seems pretty lackluster. I bluff attacked this opponent last game. That wasn't a bluff attack. I would have played Embercleave and traded the Phoenix for the Lyra, and then the Phoenix would potentially come back. They're up to 17 now. This is potentially 18 damage if they don't block any of it or stop any of it. I don't think I'm going to go for that into open mana. What I will do is I'll just play... Ooh. That's kind of nasty. Guess I'm just going to play the Paradise Druid and the Dollhouse. Next turn I'll be able to Devil's Play this Lyra, so they'll get me down to 6, but then hopefully my more expensive cards will take over. That card's pretty scary. How is their deck this different? I really don't understand. I'm at 6, so I could actually jump to live. So I'm not going to attack. Alright, I go to 1. Unless they have removal, and then I'm dead. Okay. These are all good things. This has been a pretty sweet game. This doesn't have vigilance, right? It's hexproof, haste, reach, trample, so it will not be attacking this turn. This is double damage, but It has nothing to do with double strike. I have no creatures in the yard. Were they dead that turn? So this thing would be 3, 4, 5, 10, 20. They would have had the chump block. They may have actually just been dead because both my creatures would have had trample. Well, that's it for this cube. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And yeah. See you next time.